You're smart enough and people like you. You're good enough. Oh, we're live. Hey, welcome to the Catholic Citizen this week, where we're talking about the economy and much, much more here in just a second. Sorry, folks, you caught me in my pre-show routine as I was trying to get, just ready for the show. But let me just say this. There was that movement. There might have been some books, T-shirts made that were out there saying, you're good enough and, so on and so forth. You're not good enough. You never will be good enough. That's why we have a Savior. We are broken. We are fallen. We are sinful. Our hearts are wicked and evil, in fact. That's why we need Jesus Christ. So no, we're never good enough. We're never going to be smart enough. We're never going to be holy enough. Our righteousness is won through the victory that Jesus won on the cross. So stop giving me this you're good enough stuff, this self-help stuff today. Give me the truth that I'm a wicked human being in need of the mercy and saving power of Jesus Christ. All right, what are we doing here today? Oh yeah. First, let's go to our sponsors. First, Casa Bea Cleaning. They are the best ever cleaning service in the history of the United States of America. I can say that without a shadow of a doubt. So please go to casabeacleaninginfo.com today. Sign them up for your home, for your office, whatever you might need to be cleaned and COVID-free in today's world and environment. Casa Bea Cleaning are the people for you. All right, secondly, if you are not a member of the Citizens of Heaven, why not? That's the purpose of our life, right? It's to go to heaven. So check us out at thecatholiccitizen.com. Maybe you can consider giving $3 a month, maybe $10 a month, maybe even $25 a month to keep this show going. But think about it. I mean, just $3 a month, you can do that, right? You like turning in every Friday just to listen to what I have to say. So please go to thecatholiccitizen.com. There's little perks that come with each one of these money levels as well. So check us out at thecatholiccitizen.com. You can also watch every single episode I've ever done. It's absolutely amazing. I do this every Saturday. I watch everything I've ever done. And wow, I'm good enough. Okay. Thecatholiccitizen.com. All right, let's get to today's show. Here we go. All right. How do you feel the economy is going right now? How is it on your pocketbooks? I know that every time I go to the gas pump, I'm like, wow, I'm spending a lot of money just to fill up my tank. Now, inflation prices have risen over these past couple years here. Gas is at 42% higher than it was just a year or so ago. Used cars are up 24%. Bacon is up 19%. How dare they raise the prices on bacon? Hotels, 18%, beef, 18%. Kids' shoes are up 12%. So it's hitting the average person. This inflation crisis we're going under. Now, why could this be? Maybe because the government is spending a whole bunch of money it actually doesn't have. But according to the administration, which is spending this current money, let's take a look. What do they have to say about this? Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. Oh, Nick, I am way off the screen over here. I don't know if that's over here, but they need to see me. The people need to see me. All right, here we go. Pete Buttigieg claimed during a CNN interview on Sunday that the supply chain crisis that we're facing right now is partly due to how successfully President Biden has managed the economy, despite skyrocketing inflation, as we just mentioned, and millions quitting their jobs. That's right, folks. He said that the reason we're having a crisis, all those ships off the California there that are stuck in port, that's happening because President Biden is handling the economy so well. Folks, the average gas price is the highest it's been in 7 years. In 7 years. But President Biden, according to the Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, is handling this quite successfully. All right. Second story. Rachel Levine becomes the first openly transgender four-star officer across U.S. Uniformed Services. So you may remember Dr. Levine. He was identified as transgender there in the state of Philadelphia, guilty of putting COVID patients into nursing homes, but was appointed to become a secretary in the Health and Human Services Department, assistant secretary. So we have an individual struggling with gender dysphoria who's appointed by the Biden administration, made big news about it. First transgender person appointed to this, and now they've just given him the first female four-star officer of the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Corps. Okay, making news. They're making news with appointing this transgender individual. Okay, so while we are concerned in our military of appointing people and elevating them, struggling with gender dysphoria in our military, China is testing hypersonic nuclear missiles. So we are more concerned about a woke agenda than we are about actually protecting the country. This weekend, China tested a nuclear-capable hypersonic missile. Actually, it was in August they did this. It orbited the planet before racing back down towards target at more than 5 times the speed of sound. Okay, so maybe our military, maybe our government can refocus their agenda a little bit to make sure that we're a little less concerned about our woke agenda and a little bit more focused on protecting the nation. But it doesn't seem to be that way, and I'll get to this story a little bit. But, you know, even our decisions when it comes to the COVID or coronavirus right now, you know, at a time where we're told we must be scared to death about COVID-19, we are laying off individuals in hospitals because they've not taken the vaccination. So in a time when, you know, we're told things are overcrowded, we got to make sure that everybody's on deck to take care of people, we're laying off nurses and doctors. In a time where crime rates are skyrocketing in our major cities, we're having policemen laid off their jobs because they won't take the COVID-19 vaccine. It's like everything that we're told, we're doing actually the opposite to protect our people. Nonetheless, this just seems to go with some of the moves of the Biden administration. So here's another move of the Biden administration that just doesn't seem to make sense to me. So Biden elects his papal ambassador. So we have a United States diplomat who's the ambassador to the Vatican, and we picked Joe Donnelly. He's a former congressman and senator from the state of Indiana. Meanwhile, Joe Donnelly is someone who in 2017, he voted against then President Trump's plan to deny states the ability to use federal Title X funds for abortion providers. In 2018, he voted against another amendment that would stop taxpayer funding from going to abortion corporations like Planned Parenthood. And oh, by the way, he flipped on so-called gay marriage as well in 2013, saying it was the right thing to do. So our papal ambassador representing the United States of America, self-professed Catholic, is someone who goes directly against Catholic Church teachings on what Pope Benedict had called non-negotiable issues, the issue of life. He's okay with funding abortion clinics, and the issue of marriage. He's okay with marriage being defined as something other than between a man and a woman. But he's the one representing us in the Vatican. That's very helpful. All right, number 4, vaccine mandates. Now, again, President Biden here, when asked just last night on the CNN town hall whether he thinks that police officers and first responders who refuse the COVID-19 vaccine should stay home and be fired if they don't take the COVID-19, Biden says this: yes and yes. I mean, talk about great respect for people in the uniform, people who have given their lives this past couple of years to protect people. COVID-19 is one of the leading deaths of police officers. COVID-19, serious threat, obviously, to individuals, but we're okay with laying off police officers and those people in hospitals simply because they don't want to take a vaccine for whatever reason it might be. And the more you guys do some research into the HEK cell lines that they derived, some of these aborted fetus cell lines that we're now testing these vaccines on, do some research. Just like in a transplant, when you have somebody at the end of their life, right? You have an organ donor or whatever it may be. If the person dies, okay, if blood is not flowing into the organs of that person, the kidney, whatever it may be, that organ is not valuable. So that's why there is what they came up with. And again, I got to do more research here at the end of life here. But this idea of being brain dead. Because people saying, well, if you're brain dead, but the rest of the body's still working, like there's still, you're still breathing and stuff like that, there's still lung function, there's still blood being pumped in the organs, then they can justify taking the organs from the body. Now, we'll get into end-of-life things, maybe another show. The point being is organs are only valuable for whatever purposes if they're harvested from a human being, where blood is continually pumping into them. So we're talking about you have to harvest these types of organs from these unborn children, either while those children are still alive or nearly immediately after they're born, meaning it has to be taken like right after they're born. Now, in these experiments, you have doctors on the record talking about these very gruesome procedures. So some people might have some issues with the way that some of these organs were harvested that we now use as aborted cell lines to test the Pfizer vaccine, things of that nature. Now, again, the church has come out and said, hey, because of the seriousness of the pandemic, it's morally illicit. Doesn't mean it's good, but it's morally illicit. It's okay to go ahead and take the vaccine, okay? But some people may have some issues with that reality. But to Joe Biden, no, you should be fired. How dare you not take the vaccine? Look, there's so much going on here, folks. When you go to all the major news networks and you see that they're sponsored by Pfizer, that their show, whether it's Anderson Cooper or whoever's doing these reports about COVID-19, they're all just watch some of these shows. And when they show you who they're sponsored by and Pfizer comes up, it's just really interesting. Also, coming up later in future shows, we have to look at some of the drugs that have been prescribed at the beginning of this pandemic, approved by Dr. Fauci and others to treat COVID-19, and how that has impacted our treatment of COVID-19. It's just, boy, when you start digging into some of this. So, for example, the CDC and state health department scientists just released a study that again reflects the dangers of making civil and individual rights contingent on a medical procedure. This study, titled Shedding of Infectious SARS-CoV-2 Despite Vaccination, reviews swab specimens from 36 counties in Wisconsin from the end of June to the end of July 2021. Okay, now what do they find? That there's high viral load, 158 of 232 unvaccinated, that's 68%, and 156 of 225 fully vaccinated, that's 69%. Meaning, there was effectively no difference between the symptomatic vaccinated and unvaccinated in terms of who was carrying and therefore spreading the virus. But the study doesn't end there. It also found that high viral loads in 7 of 24 unvaccinated, 29%, and 9 of 11 fully vaccinated asymptomatic individuals, 82%, meaning among asymptomatic individuals, the vaccinated had a higher percentage with a high viral load. Okay? One study, I'm sure that there's reviews that need to be done of it, but the science isn't settled, and it is the scientific method to ask questions. So ask yourselves for a moment, why is YouTube, why are some of these companies, anytime there's a question about the virus and about the vaccine, are they shut down? You can't even do it. Is that the scientific method? You're allowed to ask questions about these things? Why? Why would they be silenced if you have a simple question? Richard H. Ebright of the Board of Governors of Professor of Chemistry and Chemical Biology just released more papers and letters from the Freedom of Information Act. And this is what it finds. The National Institute of Health received the relevant documents in 2018 and reviewed the documents in 2020 and again in 2021. The NIH specifically, Collins, Fauci, and Tabak, lied to Congress, lied to the press, and lied to the public, knowingly, willfully, and blazingly. What did they lie about? That the United States government, the National Institute of Health, was funding the gain-of-function research in the Wuhan lab. Think for yourself. Why is this not across major networks right now? The fact that the individual leading the charge to protect us from the United States government is the very individual who's funding the research in the Wuhan lab where the virus most likely came from. Number 5, speaking of China. Speaking of China. All right, so you have this infrastructure bill that the Biden administration is pushing, right? Well, what's some of this that's in there? The bill would allocate $148 billion, $148 billion to climate and energy-related priorities intended to support the resiliency projects and make the country more dependent on alternative energy. Okay, fair enough. But did you know that Chinese companies currently manufacture close to 30% of the world's wind turbines and a whopping 71% of all solar panels in the world, making China the industry's largest country of origin for our progressive left's clean energy sources. The U.S. manufactures just 10% of global wind turbines and only 3% of all solar panels. So when we're talking about Build Back Better, we're talking about Build Back Better for China, because we're going to be giving $148 billion to companies in China overseas. Oh, and did you know how China's government runs? Like the government basically runs their private sector and, you know, how everything's made? Okay, that's great. It's time we wake up a little bit to what's going on in our world and country today. All right. Sometimes the show can be depressing. I understand that. It's depressing to look at some of this news and to realize kind of what's going on. But I hope we're awake for the next election cycle in 2022, the next election cycle in 2024. And I hope we're just, informing our neighbors about some of these realities. You know, when we're having conversations, we can say, well, did you know about this? What did you know about that? Do you ever think about this? Well, why are they shutting down conversation when it comes to the vaccine? Have you thought about that? But I just want to encourage you, never give up, because God always has a plan. And I was listening to Kurt Warner the other day. I don't know if you guys know Kurt Warner. He's a former quarterback he played a little bit for the Arizona Cardinals. Before that, he led the St. Louis Rams at the time to the Super Bowl. Kurt's story is absolutely amazing. He's a Christian. He was bagging groceries. He was bagging groceries for some time. He sat on the bench 4 years when he played in college, and then he played a little arena football league, and then he was bagging groceries before he got the call to actually get a chance in the NFL. And he finally got his shot, and he took advantage of the opportunity. He said in the interview he wasn't worried about his own talent. He always had faith in himself. He was just worried that he was never going to get the opportunity to kind of show his talent. And then last night, I'm sitting there watching the Browns game. The Browns won against the Denver Broncos, 17-14. Good game on Thursday Night Football. And D'Ernest Johnson was playing running back. Now, D'Ernest Johnson came from a little town called Immokalee, Florida. He went to Immokalee High School. I spent some time down there doing some volunteer work with immigrants who live there in Southwest Florida, who literally pick our tomatoes and peppers in 90 to 100 degree weather that we buy in our air conditioning grocery stores. So I worked for Catholic Social Services down there, Habitat for Humanity. Great opportunity. Well, same kind of story. D'Ernest was actually fishing when he got the call to kind of, try out for the NFL and everything of that nature. He was a third string back, but last night he scored a touchdown, ran for 146 yards, had an amazing game. After the game, during the interview, all he could keep saying was I just want to thank God. I just want to thank God for this opportunity. So from bagging groceries, from fishing, to the platform of the NFL, fulfilling their most wildest and greatest of dreams. So I want you to think and reflect upon just for a moment. What are the dreams that the Lord has placed on your heart? What are the deep desires that you always thought, man, maybe I should do that? Maybe it's running for office. Maybe it's becoming a painter. Maybe it's becoming a teacher, becoming a lawyer, whatever it may be. Maybe it's, going after that girl that you really love and you never had the courage to get it up and just go ask her out on a date. Whatever it is, just go do it. Believe in yourself. Believe that through the grace and power of Jesus Christ, that the Lord indeed, and only through the Lord, not through your own goodness, grace, or anything that you've earned, but through the Lord's grace and goodness, He has indeed made you good enough, smart enough, and able to follow and complete your dreams. because those dreams, those deep desires that He placed in your heart, the ones that you know are there from the Lord, He's given them to you, and He's given you the grace to follow them. So follow Him. Give it your all. You never know. You never know what the Lord has in store if you give Him the chance by following your dreams. All right, God bless everybody. Thanks for watching The Catholic Citizen this week. We'll talk to you next week as we keep you up to speed on the news from a Catholic perspective. Please visit thecatholiccitizen.com.